I fell straight into practice and never looked back. My name is Eli-Brown Stevenson. I go by he, him, and I'm a resident priest at City Center. I chose to practice Zen because I was introduced to Zen mind, beginner's mind. Wherever you are, that's where practice occurs, but there is an aspect of training, I feel, that is intensified in residential practice. Having everything in the context of your life or the environment of your life geared towards or respective of Zen practice does make it, I think, a little bit easier to drop in, to have time built in for sitting, reflecting, and then also having a rather tight schedule so that there's not as much room for distractions. And so the monastery is definitely what I would consider more of a Zen training environment. I had a secular meditation practice while working at a corporate job, and we were working with a meditation teacher at the time, and so she suggested that we try out residential practice. I had been reading Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, and it completely spoke to my heart the first time that I read it. And once I realized that the place that Suzuki Roshi came from was somewhere I could go, we decided that would be a place to try out Buddhism or try out Zen. For someone who is, newer to Buddhism, definitely new to Zen, there's so much to just take in and absorb the first couple of years. And then something happens, usually to those of us who stick around, is we get asked to take on different roles of responsibility, where the practice isn't just about kind of this inward focus, but you actually have to show up and maybe hold a container for others. Now that I sit here as the Director of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, really my emphasis is how can we really foster this sense of belonging. Belonging is something that's cultivated internally, so that you can have that sense of true belonging, of interconnectedness, and not have it be reliant on external conditions. However, we know in diversity work that belonging really is multifaceted. It has to do with the environment that you're in, whether or not you feel a sense of psychological safety, a matter of inclusion, if there's equity, if you feel seen and respected. I feel that my role as a belonging director at Zen Center is to help create and foster an environment where people feel safe enough, seen enough to really do the deep internal work of touching the ground or cultivating a sense of internal belonging that they can then spread to others. Zen practice really is a path for us as humans to answer that fundamental question: what does it mean to be human? To really touch into our deepest nature, and this practice of Buddhism where we become intimate with our suffering, with the causes of it, and through practice, find space to show up for that suffering a little bit more fully, has been teaching an expression or experience that I've spread to things like belonging. The dynamic that I see is that changes is from culture to culture or generation to generation. The practice has to not change necessarily, but it has to flex to fit the context that it's in. When it was introduced, at least to our lineage or San Francisco Zen Center, and really took shape in the 60s and the 70s, it interacted with a population, a lot of hippies and beatniks. At that time, social justice, environmentalism were known, but were not substantiated in the ways that they are today. And nowadays, younger folks, thankfully, are a lot more aware of the injustices of the world. They're, a lot more aware of yeah, we went through civil rights, but things are still not right. And right now I feel like we're trying to articulate how to express and meet the heart minds of the younger generation. And so we've been trying to do that in many different ways, changing some of the orientation process to better connect young folks with kind of what it is that we do at Zen Center. Traditionally, I think that generationally speaking, people were okay showing up and getting handed a broom or a knife and being told, go sweep the steps or go, cut these vegetables. But what we're finding with the younger generations is if they aren't in somewhat relation or understanding of how that working with no preferences, of how engaging in this single-minded effort with what is referred to as labor, how is this beneficial for awakening? And translating that it's different for newer generations. Some of the uniqueness of like residential training is you have this container that's not perfect, but you have a rare opportunity to study yourself and see how you relate to things and relate to others and in a way that you can't necessarily anywhere else.
So our way is rather to enjoy, our life right now without sacrificing.
People often will ask me what my favorite Suzuki Roshi teaching is, and I have to say all of them. So I tend to just open Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, and study what's in front of me, and somehow it magically applies to my life. There's a couple of one-liners that he has or whatnot that really just reorient me to, first of all, not taking myself so seriously and remembering what's important. Suzuki Roshi said something to the effect of sometimes we think that our problems are more important than the fact that we're alive. And so those little pulls just tend to loosen me if I am intending to cling to something or just find myself, stuck in a bad day.